Welcome, everyone, to the newest edition of Tell Me About It for Week 9, heading into the final week of the season. We got big matchups. Obviously, we know every team is technically still alive. We'll get through that while we go through each team individually. Stallions have clinched. Stallions will be going on to the South Championship for the second year in a row. Super excited about that. So we're going to start there. The Stallions played the Gamblers this week. So we're going to check in with Buck, who should be super excited.
Well, the Stallions got a big W today over the Gamblers. Absolutely a needed win. This was a win that was important, just not winning in for the playoffs, but getting that win over Houston after what happened week 4. And it just coming kind of this was a game everyone had marked out. And now you had the Mark Thompson tweet. You had the MVP talk from Magoo, and now you have this happen. You're going to technically Houston's home for the season, and you get that W, big, and very exciting. I'm glad the defense decided to play well today. Offense was pretty much right there also with that standard. So overall, a great big win for the Birmingham Stallions.
The Stallions came out and they just wanted it more. You could just see it. I'm not saying that the Gamblers didn't come out to play. Stallions just were hungry. They owed the Gamblers. They're the only team that they had a losing record against since 2022. Magoo and Thompson were the two candidates for the MVP. I think the race is settled now. Anyone that disagrees, I think, is delusional and not paying attention. I don't know what Ace said yet, so I might contradict him here, but Magoo was 13 of 21, 208 yards. They won 38-15. He had 2 touchdowns and interception. He had a rushing touchdown. Magoo just did whatever he wanted, while Thompson struggled the entire game. Thompson did put a tweet before the week saying, how can Magoo be the MVP when he can't beat the other MVP candidate? Well, guess what? You're not an MVP candidate anymore. Sorry, Mark. It's Alex Magoo's, and this is coming from a resident, and I know there's a lot of people in the community who will know, a resident Stallions hater. Alex Magoo is the best quarterback and right now the most valuable player in the league. But moving on to Mark Thompson's team, here's Ace from, I think, the Army Barracks.
Well, Gamblers fans, not only was it a bad day for me flying and having to deal with all that, but also for the Gamblers, we lost to the Stallions in a terrible way. Didn't get in the end zone one time. Nick Vogel looked great, but, I mean, the MVP race is over, and that's really tough. Now, our destiny is not entirely in our hands, but if we win next week, it looks a lot better. So all eyes on next week. Week 10, got to go beat the Breakers and hopefully win and hopefully get into the not the championship, the playoffs. Just get into the playoffs. Just survive. And if they can do that, man, I'll be a happy guy. So go Gamblers. See y'all next week. No table talk this week, but, it's all good.
No table talk, which is unfortunate because I'd like to hear him explain a little bit more about the Stallions. But I thank you, Ace, for serving our country. He's with the military this week. But he's 100% right. They need help. They need to beat the Breakers, and then they need the Stars to win their game against the Panthers so they get the tiebreaker over the Breakers. I tend to think that the Stars could beat the Panthers, especially the way that the two teams played this past week. And maybe they control their own destiny. Who knows? Talking about those Breakers, Breakers set themselves up for control their own destiny, and they don't have to wait for the tiebreaker. And even if they lose, they can still get in. So we're probably going to get a game recap here with Lowe because he's famous for that. Let's check in with Lowe.
New Orleans dominated this game pretty much from the jump. They were up 17-0 in the first quarter. A West Hills touchdown, a field goal, and Avante Diggs pick 6. In the second quarter, Memphis would add a field goal, and at halftime it would be 17-3. The Breakers would add 2 touchdowns in the second half, a Jonathan Adams touchdown in the third quarter, and then an Eli Stove touchdown in the fourth quarter. Your final score would be 31-3. This game was never really close.
Yeah, especially with the long rain delay, it just felt like it was going on and on and on. And it was real quick that the Breakers got up on them 17-0, like Lowe said. And after the weather delay, I don't know what happened to showboats. They tend to do this when they get down. They just are done for the day. And now they don't control their own destiny, because for the showboats to get in, they have to win against the Stallions, and then the Gamblers have to beat the Breakers, and then they have to outscore or have a better point differential for last week by 63 points over the Breakers. So they would have to win by, let's say, 33, and the Breakers would have to lose by 30. But then the Gamblers get into it, who they're trailing with point differential. Every time you get killed in a league like this, especially the tiebreakers, it hurts you. The captain's not going to be here this week. He's unable to do this, but they had 5 turnovers. It's as simple as that. When you're -5 in the turnover category, you're not going to win football games. Ask anyone. Ask anyone. You don't even have to coach. You don't have to be involved with the game. If you tell a 9-year-old, if I told my 9-year-old daughter that I gave that team the ball 5 times extra than what they not what they deserve, but then if we're splitting up even and gave them good field position, get them closer to the end zone, who's going to score? Who's going to win the game? You're not going to win games. I can't recall one game where a team was -5 in the turnover differential and they won the game. I just can't. I tend to be a football historian, and I can't recall a game. 170 total yards, which is terrible. Cole Kelly, 3 interceptions. They just looked bad. The 2 fumbles. Washington had a fumble, and Wilson had a fumble. The Breakers just look like they're going up again in the last couple weeks. Really look forward to seeing them again against the Gamblers, because I really think those are the 2 and the 3 team in the South. Player of the game was James Wiggins. He had 3 tackles, 2 interceptions, and 2 pass deflections. I don't know what they do with that defense, but it seems like they always have solid safeties. Jere Elder, Ainsworth, Donis Alexander when he plays safety, James Wiggins. Like throughout the 2 years, Tenuda's done well with the safety position, especially. But it looks like right now, first place is Stallions. Second place, Breakers are in if they win. Third place, the Gamblers. Gamblers win, and then they have to hope that the Stars win for their strength of victory. If the Panthers win, then the Breakers can lose and still get in. The Boats have to beat the Stallions, hope that the Gamblers win, and then gain 63 points in the point differential with the Breakers. So it looks like it's really down to the winner of the Breakers and Gamblers to get it in. And then they just have to watch the Panthers Stars game to settle their tie, which is kind of ironic, right? That Gamblers' big win over the Stars really helps them, because I think the Stars are a better team right now than the Panthers. And by them beating them and then the Breakers losing to the Stars, it could help the Gamblers get in. But first they got to beat the Breakers this week. All right, now we're going to the North. No one wants to talk about the North, even though every team is alive. Every team wins and gets in. So all 4 teams made the playoffs this year. Our playoffs just start on week 10. Going into week 10, it will be the Maulers versus the Generals, the Hub Mates in Canton. And then on the other side will be the Panthers and the Stars, the Hub Mates in Detroit. Sets up for an exciting week in the North, for sure. So we will see. Division champions, it could be any of them right now. It's absolutely wild that all the teams can end up basically 4-6, right? 4-6. They all can end up 4-6, or 3 of them can. It's very balanced. I think all 4 teams are pretty even. I think some of them do things better than the others, obviously. But first, we're going to start. This is a special treat. It's a big day, big sweep over the Panthers for my Maulers. Panther fans, for some reason, hated the word revenge tour when Boogie said it on my show in Hammer Time. They were the ones that were like, what, revenge what? You only got one win. Well, here's a start, right? Revenge against the Panthers. 2 wins against them this year. This was filmed the day of the game. Maulers just won 19-7. Dominant defense. Turnovers everywhere. I'm out of the car, as you guys see. Bright, sunny day down here in South Georgia. Bright, sunny days. Mauler fan. Mauler Nation, stand up. We got one more game against the Generals, a team that has been tough for the Maulers historically over these 2 years. But it's the Battle of Canton. We'll see what goes on here. Both teams will still be alive next week, but it will be important to both teams, regardless of what the Generals do this week. But I'm out of the car, guys. And just like they said on the broadcast, don't let us get in. They are a tough one-game opponent. And because that defense is legit, the Iron Guard, Tez, Gilbert, Bryce, Tarp, all of them. Horton's defense is on lockdown. All right, guys. See you next week. Yeah, definitely. The Maulers dominated 19-7 defense. You can hand it to, I know Tizzino got the nominee for Player of the Week with 2 interceptions, and I believe he had 7 tackles. But I think Bryce Tornadin had a great game. 10 tackles, a sack, a tackle for loss, pass deflection. The defense was flying around. The offensive line for the Panthers, there was no match. You can learn more on Hammer Time. I'm about to film it right after this. So, Maulers, I don't know. Joe Klatt said it on the broadcast. If they get in, they're dangerous because that defense can win one game at a time. The offense has to pick it up. They have to execute in the red zone. They're still struggling there. Troy is not turning over the ball. The team's not turning over the ball. In fact, they were +4 in turnover differential this week. Bunch of sacks. But they got to be able to execute in the red zone. So, moving on to the Panthers. My rival, Maverick. What does he have to say?
Maverick with the USFL Network, here to talk about Week 9 for the Michigan Panthers. Unfortunately, they lost an absolute stinker to the Pittsburgh Maulers. Some poor offense on both sides, with a total of 4 interceptions for Josh Love, turned out to be the deciding factor for the Pittsburgh Maulers. A good field position, being able to flip the field with one of the longest punts I've ever seen in my life. The Pittsburgh Maulers defense really stepped up and absolutely shut down the Michigan offense. Besides Cole Hicatini and a very good catch by A.J. Richardson, there really wasn't much offense to speak of. Although the Michigan Panthers defense did show up and kept us in the game for the entirety with 6 total sacks and didn't let up a lot of yards. So good things are coming for this defense, and we really need to turn it around on offense if we're going to make this playoff push. We're still in the hunt, so let's hunt. Let's go Panthers.
Panthers still alive. They got a big game against the Stars, a team that they can beat. They lost to them earlier on in the season. No, they won, didn't they? Yeah, they won. It was an away game. They got to win a home game. Panthers definitely could do it. We'll see. They got to get Reggie back. Reggie not being there this week really hurt them. Love tends to have one good game, one bad game, one good game, one bad game. So maybe his bad game just passed him and they beat the Stars and they get in. Who knows? Who really knows? Moving on to the last game of the week, 37-33. The Generals beat the Stars. Generals fighting for their lives. Stars just trying to get in at that point. Exciting game. The best game of the week, obviously by score. It was the closest game of the week. It was the only game that you really didn't know what was going to go on. Generals dominated early. Stars came back. Stars, went for that field goal, which was really cool to see because I think that adds a little extra to the league. And then went for the onside kick, the 4th and 12. Unfortunately, they weren't able to complete the comeback. But Cookers was 25 of 39, 263, 3 touchdowns, 59 rushing yards. Man was all over the place. Corey Coleman, I thought he was a dud for the first like 3-4 weeks of the season, especially after he played the Maulers. And I remember that interview. He was on the sideline. I believe it was with the NBC or the Fox crew, and he said he got a touchdown early against Maulers, and he's like, "This is going to be a long day for them," and he's going to keep doing that. And he didn't really do much. Then he kind of floated around, and now he leads the league in receiving yards. Corey Coleman is legit. Should get an opportunity at least in a camp this summer. Their defense did not create turnovers. The Stars, typically they're kind of opportunistic, and you expect with a quarterback like DJ, they might be able to catch an errant pass. But DJ was awesome for the Generals. The Generals were offensively their best performance of the entire season, and maybe they're going up right now. You know, who knows what's going on with the Generals? I know if you watch any of our shows, I love Mike Riley. I think he creates a great system in there. He's honest to that system. He just sticks with it, and it seems like they figured it out this past week. Now the Stars' defense has never been, lights out, and maybe they just had a good game plan for the second time they're seeing the Stars. Who knows? Could this be a playoff matchup again? Who knows? With the Generals, they had 28 rushes as a team, 147 yards. Kingston Davis, DeAndre Johnson, Trey Williams, who's been missing for a lot of the season. So I really think that's part of the Generals' stagnant offense sometimes. And Vito is Vito. Vito was my player of the game. I'll get to in a second. Stewart with the 56-yard play. They tend to have yards after the catch kind of guys like Turpin, right? Dump it off real quick, take it to the house. Not a lot of stretch the field plays, but if they can get that kind of offense going in the short intermediate game and move the ball, they can beat the Maulers very easily. The defense was stout when they wanted to be. They were up 30-16 at the end of the third. They kind of got relaxed. The Stars, who are offensively pretty talented, comes back. But Vito is definitely the player of the game. 11 carries, 51 yards, 2 touchdowns. He only had a long of 9. So it wasn't like Mark Thompson tends to get like a big 20-yard rush and then end up with 80 yards on another 15, 16, 20 carries. Vito tends to, the bowling ball, right? The T-shirt's out now. He just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. He had 1 catch for 12 yards, and then he had the touchdown pass. The touchdown pass was awesome because he did that all himself. It was an option, but you don't see a lot of run backs do that a lot. Eccles Looper had a pass completion. It just seemed like the Generals had a great game plan. They knew that their season basically was on the line and that they would have to play for it, right? And they pulled it out and they beat the Stars and sets up for an exciting matchup in Canton and an exciting matchup in Detroit. And I know the South's got a lot of playoff implications, but you can kind of say that the Stallions Showboats game doesn't matter as much as long as the Stallions don't get killed. But you got the Breakers and the Gamblers kind of fighting for their own lives. Breakers obviously have a little bit more advantage because if the Panthers beat the Stars, it really doesn't matter. They can lose and they're still in. I'm not 100% sure on the time, so that should be exciting. That should be interesting to look at. But every other game matters. This is the greatest league in the world, and I just told you about it, right? Check out everything on the USFL Network YouTube page. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We're getting there pretty quickly. Keep on climbing, especially for never really paying for ads or any space like that. It's all homegrown. We take your feedback, leave comments, subscribe, like. If you subscribe, you can get entered into the Cavante Turpin jersey giveaway. This is Tell Me About It. I'm Webb. Tune into all of our team shows on Wednesday. Webb out.